So let's think about what kind of card we want to create. I'm really interested in internal communications and how people are communicating with each other. So I'm going to click the plus button at the top right corner of my screen. If I hover over this button, I see it says create new card. Then I'll be able to create a new card from scratch, and I'll be prompted with this card body and title. Here in the title, I'm going to put in posting guidelines and etiquette. And I'm going to take content that I already have about how to post in Slack or MS Teams or however it is you might communicate internally. So a couple things to think about. All right, let's pause before we post and think about who our audience is. Let's think about how we're going to mention people or groups. Let's think about urgency if we're asking people to answer something right away versus, hey, this can wait 2-3 days. And then using some emojis for consistency. This is a really good example of how you might want to communicate internally and have guidelines that everyone can get on board with. After I have my content, I'll click Next Step. I'll be asked to choose a collection. So collections are the highest level of organization in Guru. The collection I want this to fall into is company knowledge. After that, I'll be asked to put it on a board, which is the next level of organization in Guru. And let's say I need a board that's totally dedicated to internal communications. In our new remote world, we need it. So I'll see that this board wasn't found. So I'll create a new board named internal communications. Save this board to be reused? Yes. After that, I'll be prompted to add some tags. Let's say, for example, I know that my team is going to be looking for Slack items. So I'll create a new tag called Slack. And I can put it into a group. And for example, if I know this tag makes a lot of sense for marketing or people ops or sales, you can assign it to one of them. For now, we can just leave it as none and categorize it later. Click Save. And maybe another one, if you're using MS Teams, let's create that new tag. And we can have that later in perhaps a tag category called Internal Communications. Next, I'll click Next Step, and I'll be asked to verify. Who is the person that should be verifying this? I can select group, or I can select individual people. For now, I'll keep it as myself. And since this content might change pretty quickly, I certainly don't want to choose to update this content every year because we're evolving and we're growing in our communications. So maybe this card, instead of the default of 3 months, maybe we change it to every month. So that way we're prompted to look at this and update it on a regular basis. After that, I'll be asked to indicate who has access to this knowledge. My Guru team, specific users, or public. A public card means that anyone anywhere can see this content. So don't select public card if you have sensitive information. For right now, I'm going to keep it as my Guru team. I'll click Publish Card. There it is. Now I see that my card is finalized. Those tags I put down here, MS Teams and Slack, are there. If I wanted to add a couple more, I could do that. But as a best practice, we'll only keep 3 to 4 tags per card to make searching easier. Along the left side here, I can edit the card, I can copy card content, I can get a URL for this card, and I can favorite this card, which is a super cool feature. I'm going to go ahead and click the heart, and once it fills in red, I know that I've favorited it for easy access later. Right here with the drop down on the right side, I can add it to a favorites list as well. Maybe one I've already made, or if I wanted to create a new list here, internal communications, I can do that as well. Apply. The 3 ellipses here gives me a couple more options. I can change the privacy settings, get embed code for this card, download it as a PDF, send a knowledge alert, which is an advanced Guru feature that we won't cover today, or I can archive this card if I realize it's out of date. There's a couple other items for cards at the top. If I click the details button, I can see when the card was created, when it was last verified, and then I have some analytics here, which is really cool. I can see how many views it has, how many copies it has, and how many favorites it has. I just favorited this card, so it tracked it as 1. It tells you who has access to this card, who has read it, and who has not. If you click this drop down, you have a couple different options to see since it was last edited or since it was last verified. And then down here, you'll have a revision history where you can see the updates over the course of the life of this card. Last but not least, we have the comments tab. If someone here needs to ask a question about this card, down here, they could mention someone and say, hey, Penny, when is this card going to be updated? And then they hit enter here, and then that question will come up. And that's our overview of cards. Now, let's start to create one ourselves.